Who's most likely to cheat? Now I see why you wanted to cop out.
No, because it's not even like that. Theoretically, I didn't cheat on Rochelle. Aaron did.
Really, Zoe? No, that's just bad sportsmanship. Come on.
No, babe, it's not even like that. She came for me. I wanted to clarify.
I wasn't even coming for you like that. I was actually referring to the time you cheated on your midterm and almost got expelled, but you know, outing your man works too.
Hello everybody, I'm Coco Cosmos, and today I'm going to talk about how I feel about Grownish. Mostly the finale and how it wrapped up everyone's stories. Grownish is like Degrassi, with less intensity, more POC, and takes place in a college setting. I've heard people compare it to A Different World, but little honesty moment here, I've never seen it. Let me jump in. Let's start with the positives so y'all don't think I'm miserable. The actual storytelling was decent. It was genuinely not horrible. When the first couple seasons were airing, I was a college student, and the vibe felt very relatable. I also liked how we saw the journey of both Zoe and Junior really becoming themselves, and not just a copy of their parents. They got out of that sheltered lifestyle and saw all sorts of perspectives and issues. With Junior, they even dedicated an entire episode to it, and even made it a point to start calling him Andre after, so he can be his own man and not his dad's shadow. With this being his second go at it, and him being lost in finding his passion and what career he truly wanted to do, it was pretty satisfying when he settled on management and humbled himself into working his way up. On Zoe's end, it's less about personality, because, let's be real, she didn't change that much. It's more so about her ability to take accountability, and her becoming more responsible. The responsibility road was incredibly rocky, but there was an attempt. My favorite part was when her dad cut her off financially for the most part, so she can learn the value of $1. Another thing I also liked was how Zoe found her group breakfast club style. I love when people only have one or two things in common initially, but they become the best of friends. There were so many dynamic personalities and characters, but we still knew who the main character was, even though she was the narrator. No one really overpowered each other. Overall, for storytelling, I give it a 6. During Junior's era, it's still good, but I don't know, it feels like there was something lacking. And since I already brought up characters, let's move on to the best ones. Jazz, Doug, Sky, and Vivek. Now, I'll talk more about Vivek in the next section because that's my guy, and I feel like he was paid dust. But these three people made the show for me. And don't get me wrong, I love Luca to bits, and he's my favorite character. But I feel like towards the end of Zoe's era, he was only there for conflict reasons and not for progressing the story. Jazz, Sky, and Doug, on the other hand, their storylines kept me into the show, and I wish Jazz and Sky were physically present in the finale. Hell, they even at least FaceTime Luca. Understandably though, Chloe and Halle Bailey weren't present due to other obligations. But would it have hurt them to do a cameo? The way Jazz was navigating her mental health journey and dating a queer person kept me hooked. Chloe and Halle's sisterly bond was very clear in the acting, which is probably why I think they did it best in the show overall. The disagreements, the support, and the personalities were all felt through my screen. They really felt like your friends telling you when you're making stupid decisions and trying to give you decent advice. And speaking of support, the fact there are in-game couples and none of them are Doug and Jazz. Doug by himself was an amazing character. Just like Junior navigating life after college, so was he. Watching him kind of spiral in the beginning of Junior's era and him settling on being a business partner was low-key comforting and reminded me of me. He went from, I'm gonna be a failure if I don't get the best title in my field, oh god no, to working at a restaurant is beneath me, to literally advising Junior that starting at the bottom is necessary. You don't have to be amazing straight out of the gate. It's okay to build yourself up until you're at that amazing place that you want to achieve. And when he was with Jazz, mwah, chef's kiss. Amazing, wonderful. They even had an amicable breakup and stayed friends, dude. They taught us what healthy boundaries and what a healthy relationship looks like. Most mature couple of the group. If anybody was gonna get married or stay together at the end, it truly should have been them two. Hands down. Now let's get into the parts that I wasn't a huge fan of. Yeah, y'all already know I'm about to get on the pairings. Now, I still plan on doing ship talks on Zoe and Aaron, Zoe and Luca, and Doug and Jazz, but this will honestly be a bit of a sneak peek. I really want to start on the couple that surprised me most though. Anna and Vivek. Genuinely asking, not trying to be hateful. Why are they even together? They don't seem like couple material, let alone endgame. Yes, they did sleep together a few times and moved in together when we last saw them, but I don't think it should have gone beyond that. Really, they should have stayed FWBs and slowly made their way back to platonic friends. Yes, Vivek's whole thing is he strikes out with girls a lot, and when he does get one, he gets a little attached. He's just a lover boy. It's okay. And it would make sense in theory, since Anna is a little bit of a lover girl. But they truly don't have any chemistry. Truly, the only time I felt even a hint was when they slept together the first time, and the time Anna found out that he got the gift that Javi gave her. Beyond that, they were truly platonic to me. Didn't really hint at it. And yet we got a rejected marriage proposal, an accepting living together proposal, and a miscarriage out of it. I'll expand on that last thing later. Another couple that really falls into the same placement is Andre and Keela. They really didn't interact that much outside of the friend group, and by the time they got together, they only slept together twice, and one time was in a threesome. And I'm just supposed to believe they suddenly have feelings for each other? They're just throwing people together at this point. When we met Keela, she was very similar to her brother Luca, nonchalant, trying to keep relationships casual. Some things just aren't a big deal relationship-wise. Again, little to no chemistry. Her relationship with Brandon had way more. And when Keela got mad that Andre was supportive in her taking her summer trip, I was already over it. Conflict was created for no reason. That's all I really have to say about those two. This wasn't a couple I was waiting on with bated breath or anything. I just never thought about it, genuinely. Now moving on to my more hot take. Zoe and Aaron should not have gotten married. Again, of all the couples to be in-game, it should not have been them. They have had the worst relationship in the show. I would be willing to accept Anna and Vivek over them. They give Ross and Rachel on and off hell until they decide they want to be together in the final episode. And just like them, they're the type of couple that you look at and think, yeah, they should probably stay together because they don't need to be near the normal people. Every breakup or argument they've ever had revolves around Zoe not being supportive, or Zoe's needs and wants coming first. And the minute Aaron starts dating someone who's literally his dream woman, checks all his boxes, perfect on paper. But he can't start an official relationship with her because she's not Zoe. Zoe literally ran out on his proposal because she wasn't sure if she actually fixed the running problem with their relationship, and Aaron straight up said he doesn't care. And you expect me to believe that? Like, you look in my eyes and expect me to believe something like that? What exactly does Zoe have besides him giving into the sunken cost fallacy? Please someone explain it to me like I'm 5. I have never felt any chemistry in this pairing either. And what's funny is that they're the main pairing. The couple that's hinted to be in-game. But it doesn't feel right for them to be in-game. That's the craziest part. They shouldn't have been the main couple. Zoe and Luca actually had things in common with each other. And watching it back, it does make sense that that relationship failed because they're a mirror. They're the same person roughly, except one is more in your face about it and the other one's more laid back. But they felt like an actual couple. When they said I love you for the first time, it was actually believable. When they doubled back for the last time, I could feel the passion. Zoe and Aaron did not give that to me. Hell, Aaron had more of a connection with Simone, and she was only in the show for 2 episodes. What do Zoe and Aaron bring to the table romance-wise? Yes, they're both very attractive people, but there has to be someone else on this earth that actually fits their needs. Which brings me to my next point. Ensemble shows really need to stop making the friend groups pass each other around. It's exhausting, it's pointless. Yes, your best friend could be the person you've always needed. Or you could end up in a Zoe and Aaron situation. There's truly no need for an entire friend group to date each other. And what's insane about all of the passing around? Luca and Nomi actually gave the friends to lovers vibe, and they never dated. Why can they never stay with someone outside of the friend group? It's incredibly unrealistic to have long-term relationships with someone you met in college. More realistic than high school, but in the case of Grownish, it literally makes no sense to me. None of the official couples made me believe that they wanted to be together forever. Kind of the same deal with Andre's group. Andre didn't need to date both Keela and Annika. Literally, Annika didn't even want him until he was on the D list with 5 stars and wants to pretend it was built up feelings. Then when Andre does what college students do and play the field, she gets upset when she was the one who turned him down from get-go. I'll admit, Andre and Annika had some sort of spark, but again, the relationship was like oil and vinegar. He had certain boundaries that she crossed, and he tried being fake cool with it, until he overacted and embarrassed the both of them. Let's talk about characters. Zoe's crew was great, and again, had a great mix. Andre's, on the other hand, had a couple dynamic people, and then they slowly left. Mostly because they were celebrities with outside projects. This left everybody else, and I hate to say it, but they were kind of boring. At the most basic level, they had something to work with, but the writers just didn't. I really wasn't invested in what anyone else was doing, besides the main character and Doug. I didn't even care about what Aaron was doing at this point. That's all I have to say about them. They were just bland comparatively. Now allow me to get all of my thoughts out about Vivek. He absolutely deserved better. Sure, he was a candy dealer, but he wasn't a bad guy by a long shot. He was constantly the butt of everyone's jokes. Even to the end. The running joke of him being a loser was never funny to me because it just wasn't true. Yes, he was a bit awkward and naive, but you're meaning to tell me that someone as good looking, kind, with deep pockets as Vivek had problems finding a good girlfriend? Y'all can't trick me. I'm not saying girls should have been falling at his feet, but he should have had more hookups or relationships than what was presented. On top of that, he paid for the house that he and the girls were staying in, and the guys were always hanging out at. I'll be damned if y'all crack on me every day and you're living off my dime. And sure, he made a few sus comments, but he was just secure in his own masculinity. Bro couldn't breathe without them saying he's doing something wrong. Like that time he was living at Hawkins because the rich white kids kicked him out for no longer being their candy dealer. He simply was trying to fit in, and Doug and Aaron found it weird when no one else did. Mostly Doug, because Aaron only found it weird when it came to the wave cap. He wasn't disrespecting the culture or claiming it as his own. He just adopted a couple things because that's what he got used to. Like when you start sounding like your friends when you speak because you're around them all the time. And then, after his relationship with his dad is healing, Vivek's dad passes away. Like, come on, dude, cut him some slack. I just want him to be happy. Next thing I want to touch on is how none of the characters have any true character development besides Doug and the twins. Everybody stayed exactly the same despite going through all sorts of trials and tribulations. Especially Zoe, which makes her and Aaron getting married even crazier. She never pretended to be anyone else except herself. Her spoiled, self-centered self with her me attitude. Her best friend literally got ran over and is laying in a hospital bed, and the first thing she thinks to talk about is her most recent breakup with Aaron. Zoe didn't learn anything. And what's worse is the finale tries to use this as a way to celebrate the friend group, which I'm going to talk about more in my final point. And Zoe has this little moment that's supposed to represent how her thinking involving Aaron has changed, but it means nothing in the grand scheme of the plot. She literally said she doesn't know if she has put in that work to change, and they get married anyways. Did she even try? On the opposite end, I'm not a fan of how they tried to change Andre into something that he isn't. It can be argued that it was a learning curve into getting what he actually wanted, but he knew what he wanted all along. He was never going to be good at casual relationships, and the STD scare episode just felt like a PSA to get tested. I mean, the whole show was after school especially, but this in particular because it was so out of character for him. They tried time and time again to make him more masculine, or like every other dude, but I didn't like it. If he's soft, emotional, and considerate, let him be that, please, and not try to turn him into a copy of his older sister. Lastly, which I've pretty much reiterated throughout this entire video, I don't like the pacing, and the storytelling could have used some work. The actual plot and premise weren't bad, but still terrible pacing. This ending felt simultaneously rushed and stretched. Like, they didn't know what else to say, but also needed to clean it up somehow. Like, why did Anna drop a miscarriage and then like 20 minutes later they start partying and celebrating a marriage? Like, hello? We're not gonna talk more about that? It's just gonna be about the power of friendship? And speaking of that, the entire finale felt made up. Like, it didn't feel real. Why did both friend groups suddenly have problems that have never been addressed? Even during Zoe's graduation, the conflict felt real. The solutions felt natural. Andre didn't have to feel like he was wrong for letting Keela do her summer trip. He didn't have to feel bad because his friend group were off to different futures, or feel like the job he literally groveled for was going to be taken away from him because of his unprofessional friends. Again, it just felt like made-up conflict so we could have a happy ending no matter how forced. Luca was not as involved as I was expecting or wanted. Not only is he amazing and so good looking, but he was also a very integral part of the friend group. Even more so since they could potentially be in-laws now with the way Junior falls in love. Truthfully, they could have ended it on season 4. That would have been a satisfying ending. Or if they were going to keep going, leave Zoe and the old crew out of it completely. She can come back for graduation to be supportive, but all her relationship and adulting stuff needs to be done off screen if this era was truly going to be about Andre. Because when Zoe is involved, it's Zoe's world. And last thing, I promise. Did they do any actual school stuff after like season 3? I don't recall Andre and his friends going to a singular class. Not gonna hold you. I don't remember the OGs doing that much schooling in college either. Besides Zoe and Luca's fashion classes, Zoe getting caught cheating on her chem test, and the class that they all met in. I don't know, I feel like some loose ends should have been tightened up at some point. But what do y'all think? Did you like Grownish? Let me know in the comments below. Coco Cosmos out.